welcome back. And not just welcome back to the audience, but welcome back to Coach AP. Here he is back again here. And you know what I was thinking after we finished our last episode? I was thinking, gosh, like it'd be really cool like if we bring him on after they win the state championship. And this was it was the beginning of the season too. So I was kind of almost like a placing my bet on. I was like, all right, it's gonna happen. So and when it happened, I was like, wow, like there's something about, even as a former player of West Fargo, where it's kind of like, I can't believe it happened. Like, I think a lot of alumni feel like similar. So it's really cool in that sense. So I'm super happy, and so is Brandon, that we get to have you back on to show that the people that we are talking to and the things that we say are put into practice in circumstances like this. And so my first question is, like, the day of state or even the night before, like, did you get any sleep, and like what was going through your head?
Great question. Hey, thanks for having me on again, guys. I really appreciate it. I love doing this. So I've listened to quite a few of your episodes now, and yeah, you guys are doing a great job. So keep it up. But the week of was really interesting. I tend to get less nervous as the week goes on because I see how our guys practice and I see how locked in they are. And then I just, leave it up to them. I trust them and I know they're going to do a good job. But the night before, let's say the championship game, I slept really well. I was so beat up and worn out emotionally from the Cheyenne win, the semifinal win, that I had nothing in the tank. I'm like, I'm going to go to bed and sleep. Time changes coming up. And I'll get up early in the morning and start doing some work. But yeah, so I slept well there. But, that week, the Sunday before, when you learn who you're playing and you're going through all your scouting reports, that's when you stay up those late hours and you're on the phone trying to figure out what to do with your coaches and stuff like that. So, but as the week went on, I just trusted our guys.
That's really nice.
The day of? Sorry, how about the day of? Like, were you nervous? Like,
not at all. Not at all. I was probably the most confident that I had been all year. The way we had played in those first two games, the quarterfinals against Bismarck and the semifinals against Cheyenne, the kids were so locked in. I mean, all credit to them. They had a mission and they were going to win. And I was totally confident. We woke up in the morning. They were relaxed but focused. At our shoot around, they did some stuff, and we had a nice routine going. We had a lot of people helping us out in the Bismarck community and also the West Fargo community to make sure that we could, be as good as we could be for that week. So a big thanks to a lot of people there. But, I woke up in the morning and I felt good, and went to the shoot around, felt even better. And then when it was game time, we just had our routine and everything felt normal.
That's good. Routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you became head coach and you were kind of filling in some shoes that, you're growing as a leader and as a coach to do that. And you going into state with that confidence, and you kind of started, growing and becoming less nervous as it kind of went on, and you really started becoming confident. I think you were, as me and Adam say, attracting the energy you put out. And it really resonated with your players when they see your coach is really relaxed. And, coming from me and Adam, when we were playing in high school, whenever the coach is starting to get nervous, you feel it. Like you can they start tensing up, they get nervous. And so, it's a nice yin yang sort of situation where you as a head coach, your energy and your ability to just kind of go through that with a really nice mindset really translated well to help them feel at ease and just go to work. They didn't have to worry about the other stuff.
Yeah, I think the guys knew that I trusted them. I've been saying it all year that I'll bet on those guys every time, I'll push all my chips to the middle and go all in on them. And they always answered the bell. Even though we lost some games, there was never a question of effort. We just, needed to get better at certain things so we could play for March. And that was always the focus. The focus was always, we're playing to win in March. January doesn't matter. December doesn't matter. We were really good in December, but that didn't matter. And even February, we still had work to do, and we never quit working. So that was a big message, and the guys bought into it. I mean, the players were all about it 100%. And during the season, you say some things after losses and you don't feel great about it. But the last day in January, we played Cheyenne and lost in a close game. And Adam, your brother, this is after the state championship, but he tweeted out something I said in the locker room after we lost. And I said, you guys will go down as one of the greatest teams in West Fargo history. You know, because I just believed in them. I knew that we didn't play our best game, and we will play our best game when it counts. And it's just a lot of trust and a lot of belief in my players.
That's funny you say that. And I remember that night you guys lost, and I was going to actually personally text you and say like, hey, like, honestly, at this point, like, it's so late in the season and you already probably know this, but just tell them like you trust them if you do. And I saw your tweet where it's like, I believe in my guys more than like anything else. And that was before I sent the text. So I was like, all right, well, apparently we're on the same waves here, because I specifically remember my junior year we played Cheyenne, and it was at home. And I remember you went into the locker room before the game and you were just like, chips are on the table, I trust you guys. And I remember they went out there and played like really well. And so that struck me. It was like, there's something more to this. Like, this isn't just a coincidence, because this happens time and time again. But then again, another thing that I wanted to discuss actually today was the power and trust. Like, the fact that you trusted your team, the team trusted you, and they trusted each other, like, has a lot of like value in it. And so like, how do you grow trust as a team? What are ways that you as a coach instill that within the program?
I think there's a lot of ways to get trust. One is, you know, just straight up telling them that you believe in them, that you trust them, and then allowing them to have that trust. When they try, let's say they're trying, you know, new things in practice. Let's say they drive to their left hand and try a left hand layup and miss it. Great job. That's a great decision. You know, you're trying something in practice to make you better for our team. You're making a good read. Maybe you turn the ball over, but it was a good read, and you just didn't quite have the skill yet. We can work on the skills. You know, that's part of my job, is to get you more skilled. But if you're making decisions, the right decisions, consistently throughout practice and in games, I applaud that, no matter the outcome. I talk a lot about detaching the decision from the outcome. You know, the decision is right or wrong based on what information you have and what you see, and the outcome, you know, leave it up to God, so to speak. It'll happen or it won't happen, you know, but you made the right decision. And biggest thing, you made a decision. You know, decisive players win way more than indecisive players. So, you know, that's a big part of it, is just giving them the space to make some mistakes and to explore, you know, okay, I'm going to try this play. Does he really trust me? You're darn right I do. I've known you long enough, and you're going to do what's best for our team. I totally believe in that. There's a lot of ways to build trust. I mean, one thing, and this was where I really felt good that the players trusted me, is going into that week of state. We did some things that we hadn't done all year. We quit pressing because, you know, 3 games in a row or 3 games in 4 days, we didn't have the legs or the depth in our bench to do that. So, and I was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. That's something we did when we have a game every 3 days, you know, not 3 games in 4. We're playing to win the state tournament now. So I changed a little bit. We ran a triangle and 2 defense in the quarterfinals, which we hadn't done all year. I think the guys knew that I was trying to win, trying to put us in the best position. And they said, hey, AP's, he's doing what he can. We're gonna buy in and we're gonna do it. So there was trust both from me towards them and also from them towards me, because I don't want to say gave in a little bit. You never compromise on the things that really matter. But when it comes to, you know, winning in a really tough situation, the players got to know that you're going to adjust and give them the best chance too. So there's trust both ways there.
You know, I always wonder, like, why is sports so interesting to humans? And I've had time to think about this. And one of the hypotheses is a game is just life in a microcosm level. Like, it's a game inside of a game. So at practice, I always think the coaches that really get angry over mistakes are like creating like a toxic culture, because if you can't make mistakes in practice, like in life, when you're going to do something, like, you have to try it in order to know what went wrong and what was worked for you. So, and I know you'll get a chuckle out of this, but I remember at one practice particularly, you were talking about how it's like okay to make mistakes in practice, and like we called it a safe space, which obviously, like, it didn't, like, it just was said like that, and it was just kind of a good chuckle. So I always think for practice, that's like just amazing. Not a lot of coaches actually do this, I would say. So then you see players are tighter during games because it's like, well, geez, in practice, I made a mistake. Coach reacted this way. So if I do this in a game, then he's going to get angry. And so then you play tight, and then, it all like piles on to one another, either down or up. And I think this team went up, and it was like more apparent than they got stronger as the season went on.
That's something too with, let's say a player makes a mistake in a game and it's kind of it's a bad decision. I don't pull them out of the game unless they have bad body language. If they're going to dwell on that mistake, then you got to take them aside and say, okay, mentally now you're in a different place. You feel bad about that for whatever reason. It's not that big a deal. You're making it a big deal. Let's have a seat. Let's talk this one out, and just take some deep breaths and put someone else in, and then say, hey, let's go back in and make a play. So how you react to mistakes too. And that's something that's done in practice as well. I put them in positions where they're going to make a lot of mistakes. We'll go against 7 guys in a zone. On offense, we'll go against 7 on defense, and you're going to mess up. There's going to be tip passes, so you have to be perfect. We'll go against, I'll do things like we'll go as coaches, we might play against them a little bit, or we'll have the JV playing against them, and I'll say, follow them hard, go and get the ball on the rim. How do you react to that? And that training kids how to react when things don't go their way is as big of a deal as anything in sports and in life.
Yeah, for me, as I've been trying to stop getting yelled at by all my coaches here at Northern, and
football's a different animal, Brandon. You're getting yelled at all the time.
Yeah, but like you and Adam were saying, Adams were saying,
Adam.
Yeah, Adam squared. I always get told, like, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And, just from the way you're talking and what everything Adams said and told me, breeding excellence isn't just doing the same thing over and over and expecting to win the game. You need to spice it up, and you need to try different things, because when you face another team, as soon as you see something else or you get flustered and you're not able to adapt to it or make a different decision, you're going to get overcome every single time. And so, just being able to breed that excellence by knowing that there's going to be mistakes and almost forcing them to make mistakes, which is, great. And just create that environment where they need to adapt and grow as a leader themselves to make those decisions.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Talk about adapting. I'm talking a lot about our games right now, but the quarterfinal game against Bismarck High, we were triangle and 2 some possessions and man-to-man some possessions, trying to change it up and keep them off balance. And then they figured out the junk defense a little bit. And I realized at a certain point late in the first half, after a kid had hit 6 threes on us, that I didn't teach it good enough. It wasn't something we did every day. It was something new, and you can't teach all the nuances of a new defense in a week. So it was like, okay, they got it figured out. Time to get out of it, do what we do, and just again bet on our guys that they're going to execute the half court defense and be tough to score on. And I actually watched the game last night again for the first time on TV, and you could see how things changed and how the guys adjusted, and just did a lot of good things on the fly that I didn't have to tell them to do. They just did it because they'd been trying new things and adjusting all year long.
Yeah, that's definitely, like you said, it's all about trust as well, and instilling the right things to practice that'll translate into those games, and then making adjustments on the fly. And so another thing I wanted to go down the path here, and everybody I think expects this when we talk with AP, of course, it's got to get philosophical, but something that I've definitely noticed now, especially the last half year, is a lot of young men particularly trying to find our way and find our purpose in this world where, according to Friedrich Nietzsche, which is, by the way, this was no exclamation, not a triumphant praise, but he said God is dead, based on a society that isn't based on religion, we have moral principles to guide ourselves. And so for me, what I see through you and this team, I'm going to twist it all in here, is you took the personal responsibility to be the head coach at West Fargo High. And that's no easy task. But there's only a certain amount of head coaches in the entire country. If you think about it, there's a small percentage. And I want to give people some context too, for those who aren't aware of West Fargo High basketball. First of all, one of the biggest high schools in the state, and it had been just about 3 decades since West Fargo had won a state championship. So like any coach that steps in has to understand that role. And there's like, I would say when teams get to state, they do think about those things, or it's just like, oh, we're just going to choke anyways. But you took the personal responsibility, and I can't speak for you here, but I would just go on to probably guess that you've been finding purpose through connections of your team, through a virtuous society of like your team's a society. I mean, literally, I mean, that's what happened. And so it's awesome to see what I always sometimes just think like, am I thinking crazy here? Maybe I'm just like talking to talk, but it's like when these things actually work, it makes me really excited, which is why I wanted to have you on.
Yeah. It did work, and it worked this time. And a lot of times, you know, the outcome isn't what you want, and the team might still work. It might be you just didn't have it that day, or the other team was that much better. So we try to get that to that point every year, where we're there for each other. We are a functioning society. We all have our roles. Everyone's role is different, but everyone's value is the same. You know, you're valued as a person on West Fargo High School's basketball team. And I really hope that comes across to the guys that I coach. You mentioned, you know, that responsibility. There are 2 things that we try to do in our basketball program, you know, as I think about it. And obviously there's player development, and it's not just skills, it's decision making and understanding the game of basketball, understanding your teammates, understanding who your teammates are, you know, not just as players, but as people. And then on top of that is people development. We are trying to make better people. There's a standard that you have to meet about how you act. And you know, Adam, you made a point earlier. It's okay to make mistakes in practice and stuff like that, and it's okay to make mistakes as people too. We have issues every year where a young man makes a mistake or does something he shouldn't, gets in trouble in school, or gets bad grades. It's okay. We just got to fix it and not do it again. You know, you're going to learn so much by taking a risk, taking a chance, making a mistake, being held accountable for that mistake in the moment, and then being allowed to move on from that mistake. You know, that's a huge thing with personal development, getting young men comfortable with taking a risk here or there, especially if it's a calculated risk that might work out in their favor, you know, really well. And they're 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. Mistakes happen all the time, and it's okay. It really is okay. And I don't hold it against them. I never hold it against them. I allow my players to talk with me, to be critical of me if they need to. And I, again, don't hold that against them either. They have an opinion, and they've thought about it. You know, if someone's going to take the time to think about something that's critical to an authority figure and have the courage to say that to an authority figure, then as an authority figure, you need to respect that, and give them a space to say that and thank them for it, and think about it and contemplate it. And that's, you know, part of the responsibility of being the head coach too, is, you know, I can think about it and I can say, well, yeah, you got a point. We will do that. Or I can say, you have a point, but we're not going to do that because this is why. There's another reason that you don't see. There are some moments in that state tournament game against was it Cheyenne, I think? Yeah, against Cheyenne. Carter Barancott was asking me a question about what defense we're going to do, how to line up, and it was at the end, and I couldn't quite hear him, and he made a great point. So I called a timeout because I had a couple to spare anyways, and we called one in and got our defense set so we could play the last, you know, minute of the game the right way and close it out and get a win. So you have to empower your players to talk to you, to disagree with you, but also at the end of the day, we're all on the same page and all, you know, we all have the same goal. And like I said, we're a functioning society. There's a lot of roles that go into it, and everyone has to work together for the betterment of the society.
Microcosm of life. Again, it's all intertwined. Brandon, I know I'm not gonna take his shine here on this, but I can tell you particularly like for my family and their specific community, and Brandon will talk in the city, but I know like it had an effect and a lot of people were deeply engaged and proud of their city, and there's something to be said about that. And that's also really cool. And it's got to be rewarding as a coach, because I know like you can't see every single interaction and understand your impact, but you can understand the broad scope of things. And even if you aren't aware of that, that's why like I want to at least let you know in case you aren't aware of like these small microcosms. So
Yeah. I mean, for me, the microcasm, I guess, in Northern, when I came back, I had my roommates actually text me when they won. And when I came back, they were talking to me about it. And they're like, wow, did you see West Fargo won? And I was like, yeah, I was watching it with my family. You know, we were getting super hyped to it and we were super excited. And everyone was taking in how, I mean, a lot of the team was asking about it and they were saying like, congratulations. But they weren't just commenting on their ability to play. They were also commenting on how good of kids a lot of them seemed on the court and their body language, and that their effort level and their leadership, and just whenever someone made a mistake, it wasn't, you know, they were sitting there lashing one another waiting to, you know, try to take it out on one another. They were trying to pull each other up. And, you know, speaking to you, it's kind of a little bit more rewarding to see people talk about your athletes and the way you've been guiding them, and knowing that that's a reflection of the way you've been doing things.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. I appreciate that comment, and that's, you know, something that we try to instill in them all the time is, you know, have that good body language, that positive attitude, and pull each other out of some of those dark places and some of those bad thoughts that you have. And one thing that, you know, I watched a couple of the games. Now I haven't watched the championship yet, but things didn't always go our way in any of the games. We were down at some point in the second half in every game that we played. And literally to a man, no one got down. No one showed weakness or capitulated to the bad thoughts they may have had. Some of the calls didn't go our way. We really didn't complain. We complained a little bit, but everyone does. But they were really good. We moved on really well. And something that doesn't get on TV enough, but our bench guys, our reserves, were absolutely phenomenal. They knew the game plan just as good as the starters. If a guy made a mistake on a defensive assignment, they let him know, you know, so I didn't have to. So they're being held accountable by their teammates. And they cheered for everybody that went in the game and made a play. They were just up after every big play. And it was like that for most of the year, not always, because especially in the beginning, people want to play. They want to contribute to the varsity. And they think they should, you know, and maybe you should, but there's only so many minutes in the game, and not everyone can play, you know, minutes. That's the way it is. And, you know, we try to make sure that everyone gets minutes. You know, we had a JV squad. Basically, our JV was 7, our varsity was 7, and everyone got a full game. You know, it doesn't matter who you were, you got a full game. And if you got a little bit of varsity time extra, great. But our bench was phenomenal. And those guys really, with their enthusiasm and the fact they were in it for everyone else, that really makes a team work.
Mm-hmm. I got one last thing for us here as a wrap-up discussion here, actually, because I've been thinking about this, and I just want both of you guys' opinions. So I've been listening to this phrase that it's not about whether you win or lose, it's about how you play the game. I'm sure we've all heard that cliche, but it's like, how do we value winning versus being ethical? Because I just think sometimes when, and I'm not saying this anyway, West Fargo High, but sometimes some winners cut corners. And so you look at them and it's easy to do that. But I think I'm just thinking out loud here. I think it takes character to, like we said, sports are just a microcosm of life. So if you're doing the things right, whether you win or lose, you're still like a virtuous person, a good person. And so you have that to always take away from it. So I'm not sure what you guys think. I'll let you guys discuss that.
So, you know, I'm going to kind of piggyback on that quote a little bit. There's something that I used to say, and it raises eyebrows when I say it because people take it the wrong way. Because most people haven't played sports, like given all they have to sports. So when I made a comment at one point in my life when I was a younger coach, I said, sportsmanship is for losers. And it's not what you think it is. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that, do you think that shaking hands after a game is sportsmanship? And it's not. Sportsmanship is giving everything you have within the rules of the game to try to win the game. And at the end of the game, you shake hands because it's a mutual sign of respect. Hopefully you played as hard as you can play. The other guy played as hard as he could play. And it was tough. You try to get an advantage any way you could without doing it the wrong way, so to speak. And then it's over and you go your separate ways and you respect each other. When people talk about sportsmanship, they really miss the competitiveness, the kind of that deep-rooted trial in your heart where you want to see what you want to test yourself. You want to see what you can do against the other guy's best. And to me, that's sportsmanship. That's how you're supposed to play the game. And there's plenty of nice people that play basketball, and they're polite to play against, I guess is the word to say. That's great, but that's not the guys that we want on our team. We're not always going to have the best players, but we will compete. We will play hard. We aren't going to do it the wrong way. You can see it in the state tournament. Some guys, Carson Hagley got punched in the head on a loose ball twice in a game. He got shoved in another game. After the game was kind of over, someone was upset with him, and when our guys just don't do that. One, I don't tolerate it, and secondly, they just know better. They're not that kind of person. I don't think it's tolerated at home either, from their parents. So, there's a lot to how you play the game and playing it the right way. And we have our philosophy and our standard that we try to hold our guys to. And, this year and most years, to tell you the truth, but this year especially, we really honored that standard and lived up to it.
Well, I think I'll just add on to that real quick here. I think sometimes people confuse playing the game right and sportsmanship with like younger kids when they don't keep score, like obviously it's almost like this weird sportsmanship thing. Like we don't want to hurt other people's feelings. You know what I mean? Like it gets wrapped into that, which is where I'm just like, no, it's not. That's the wrong way. It's like, you still want to win. We all want to win, but it's like, do it the right way and be of good character. And that'll translate not just into that little game you had, and this is what coaches I know hope, but like goes from the game to life. And so I'm going to stop. I'm going to let Brandon go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, if you tolerate cheating on the field, you're going to be able to tolerate cheating off the field, in the classroom, in business, and the workplace. If you're used to cutting corners and it's allowed and it's almost encouraged by some coaches, it's going to just translate into life. And the value of working your hardest, like you were saying, Coach, and that needs to be the sportsmanship, quote unquote, where it's not about being soft. It's about putting everything you have into the game. And sometimes it's going to get feisty. Like there's going to sometimes be a fight where passions are really high, and it's going to get, there might be a little bit of a skirmish or a fight on the field or on the court, but you have to hone it in and understand that it's not about showing off who can, throw hands the best on the court or who has the most passion in order to fight. It's like, it's a game. You're playing basketball. You're not there to show who loves the game more, in a sense, like, oh, I like the game more, I'm going to fight you. It's about sportsmanship of, I am going to play the best of my ability. I might not be, the best, like you said, but you're going to give as much as you possibly can. And I hope every coach, thinks that way, because you want that to be the norm. You want to give your best on every single play, every single possession. You want to give it your best, because if you don't tolerate anything less than that, you're just going to be breeding bad sportsmanship, in a sense where you don't really care what happens. You're going to let stuff happen. And if it comes to it, you're just going to get into a fight because that's all you know.
Yeah. Using the word get into a fight, we actually use that word a lot this year, where we have to fight for what you want, again, in the right way, but just knowing that nothing's going to be handed to you as well. Adam's talking about the microcosm of life, and that's kind of what it is. Nothing worth doing is easy. Nothing. If you think it's going to be easy, if you want it handed to you, one, it's probably not going to be worth that much, and two, you won't really value it because you didn't earn it. So we just try to focus on that kind of stuff and really work for what we want and fight for what we want, and that's a matter of what's in our heart, not a physical fight, but what's in our heart. What are we really going to go after with everything we have? And I'll be honest, I've coached for a long time now. And one of my first teams I coached was a football team out in Colorado. And they never fought for anything. And they weren't good. We were 0-10, but we could have won some games. And they wouldn't put it on the line. No matter what you said, tried to motivate them, they wouldn't put it all on the line because they were scared that if I did, and this can be devastating to a person, if you put it all out there and you come up short and you realize that's the best I could play and I'm still not good enough, if you don't have the right mindset, it can really be devastating to someone. So, I appreciate that our guys, I'm going to bring it back to one of your previous podcasts about, who am I? You're talking about personality traits, the openness. Are you open to have experiences and to feel things and to put stuff out there? And can you, like I said, leave the rest up to God, so to speak, to give everything you have and realize that just because you came up short in that experience doesn't mean you're a bad person, doesn't mean you're worthless. It just means that, you gave everything you had, and you know what, you can probably give more. You can probably get better. You can probably do, something else so that when it happens again, you don't come up short. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but that's in a lot of things. That's not just in athletics. It's in the pursuit of whatever career you want. If you want to go out there and do something, important and big, you have to give everything you have. You can't, focus that on what's my plan B if it doesn't work. You don't have a plan B. You go all in, and win or lose, hey, you can be proud of the effort you put in. With your relationships, with a marriage, are you all in, or are you looking for a plan B? You have to give your whole heart to things, and you have to do it a few times in your life, and be okay with the outcome. And it's always worth it. Even the failures are worth it when you do it. It hurts. I mean, it really hurts. It stings and burns and can be lasting, but it's worth it. The pain is oftentimes worth it when you really go for things that are worthwhile.
That's true. I've referred to this before, but like pain or life is like a lot of pain and suffering. But on the same token of pain and suffering, there's the opposite, which is like, all the good of life. So you have to have the good and the bad. But, some people wonder if I ever change or if I ever wear anything else for the podcast. And you know what? If you don't have visuals, I'm sorry, but I think AP might get a good kick out of this. But I got my Pound the Stone shirt on.
Nice.
So this is my first ever change of suit for the podcast. So I guess there we have it. I side note, I wear this under my suit or anything whenever I have anything important going on. So just kind of like a
awesome.
Yeah. Used to do this for football too. Used to wear that Cole Beasley shirt, and I always wear that under. There's some kind of, it's not spiritual necessarily, and I'm not superstitious, but it's also like a routine. Like I feel like I'm comfortable. I'm in my zone. Like this is a comfy shirt also as well. So
well, it puts you in a mindset. Like you understand, you wear that Pound the Stone shirt, you know what you're going to be doing. Mm-hmm. You know that you're going to just do the little things, pay attention to the details, and do the same stuff all the time until you're really good at it. And then you're just going to keep doing it. So it's a mindset thing. And I'm with you. I wore the same tie for our last 4 games of the year. We won all 4. But that tie was given to me by Coach Limke, actually. The guy, two coaches before me, but definitely a mentor to me. And he gave that to me after I did our first team book study that I ran with the energy bus. It's a yellow book or gold type thinking, and I got that tie, and I've always felt good wearing that tie. And again, it's not superstitious, but it puts you in the right mindset. It's like you have energy. I had energy in those tournament games, and I was thinking about how much energy our players had, and going back to one of the things we talked about earlier about that trust. On the top of my play sheet, every game at the state tournament, I wrote "Love your players," because that was the most important thing at any moment in that tournament, any single moment. Whether it was live play or a timeout, whatever, your players have to know that you trust them and have to know that you love them, and they need you to be the best person you can be for them. So there's a lot that goes into if you really think about it, there's a lot that goes into the big moments in your life and how you prepare for them and how you get your mindset ready to attack those things. So for me, it was wearing a yellow tie. Adam, for you, it's wearing Pound the Stone shirt. Brandon, what's yours?
I used to have a pair of Lucky socks, and I think the definition between superstition and mindset for me was being able to wash it after the game.
Ah, yep, there you go.
Mine was maybe a little bit closer to superstition on that end, but no, I wore a pair of Lucky socks, super long black socks. Nothing fancy, nothing special, but it was game day when those, and yeah, I probably should have washed them more. I'll have to say that.
Yeah, well, that's just the nature of boys. It's just like during 2 days for football, I sometimes wouldn't wash my girdle and put it back on, and it was wet with sweat. Sorry for those who are listening and didn't. Just how it goes sometimes.
That's every football locker room. That's the way it is.
Yeah. So, anyways, we'll kind of end on that little note. Appreciate you for coming on again, and first recurring guest. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm honored. I'm doubly honored. Anytime, guys. I'll come on here anytime. It's a lot of fun talking to you and seeing you guys. And again, I'm really proud of what you guys are doing and going after something that not everyone has the guts to go after. So kudos to you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll definitely have you on again in the future. It's almost like the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yep.
You guys, you'll always see familiar faces. So
Yep.
Thanks for coming on. This is another episode of B&A Panorama podcast, and be great and be built different.